Welcome.
A notable welcome to all you music lovers.
To
Journey
to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back
your host.
And
our dad.
Brian.
Fraser.
From the fruited plains of Central California, a warm welcome to Journey to the Stage with Brian Fraser. I'm dedicating this episode to my son, Luke, who just graduated from high school. Congratulations, son. We love you and are so proud of you. And if you're turning in for the first time, welcome to you especially. Journey to the Stage is really a podcast home for icons and indie artists from across styles, eras, and genres, and I'm really excited for the guest I have today. At the end of last year, my son Luke came to me and he said, "Dad, hey, the Dirty Loops are coming to LA and we should go." And I said, "The Dirty what?" And then he played a couple of songs for me and I was just floored. So about 7 or 8 weeks ago, we saw the band in LA and I just couldn't believe what I heard. I just had such a great time, and I knew that I wanted to have them on my podcast, so I reached out, and it's my pleasure to have as a guest today bassist extraordinaire, the man with 4 hands, Henrik Linder, who along with Aron Mellergad and Jonah Nilsson make up the Dirty Loops. How mar du, Henrik?
I'm bra. Good to be here.
How was my Swedish? Hur mar du?
Yeah, excellent.
Right? All right, man. Well, I'm so glad to have you here, and it's so as I mentioned, I got to see you guys live just maybe 8 weeks ago when you guys were here in LA, but it had been a while since you guys had played, particularly in LA and maybe in the States in general. It was good to be back in the United States and playing some dates.
Yeah, it was super nice. It was like 10 years since last time we were there, so yeah, it was super cool to be back, and hope it won't take another 10 years before the next time.
Right on. So let's turn back the clock just a little bit. I know that as an instrumentalist, you kind of started on piano. Maybe just walk us through a little bit of your journey, your evolution as an instrumentalist, and how you ended up on bass.
Yeah, I started piano when I was 4 or something, and yeah, it was a musical family, so I played a lot with my dad and my younger brother. And when I was 13, I switched to bass. Kind of like I listened to Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then there was a girl also that said it was like, yeah, it's the sexiest instrument. So that had a factor in me picking up the instrument as well. So yeah.
Okay, so did you get the girl though? That's the big question.
Yeah, I did. Actually, we were together for like 8 years or something. So yeah.
Nice. Oh, that's cool. So you mentioned the Red Hot Chili Peppers. What are some other bands maybe, kind of back in those early days that kind of caught your attention, that maybe have had some influence on your, not only your musical palette, but, kind of your playing style?
Primus was another one, like back then, like if you speak bass-wise, that had a big influence on me as well. And yeah, then there was like all sorts of bands.
Yeah, I got to see Primus. Wow, it's been a while now, but Les is such a gifted player. I mean, he's so fun to watch. He's entertaining just in general, but man, he is, that guy can rock that instrument. And Flea too, I think. Is that kind of where you got the love for kind of the slap based style, just kind of by listening to those guys?
Yeah, I think so. It was through, like, both of those guys were into slap and stuff like that. So yeah, I like the sound of that. Like even before I started playing bass, when I started, it was kind of like I wanted to learn how to play slap bass. Like when I got into it, and then I got more into all the other stuff after that.
Yeah, I know that you've cited Flea as somebody who helped to shape your tone, your sound, your approach to the bass, but also guys like Gary Willis, of course, from Tribal Tech. They were, big influence on your playing. What do you think you maybe have learned from them in terms of maybe not just style, but anything else that you've learned from those bass players that you think you've been able to adapt into your style?
I think it's, like you mimic the phrasing of those players when you play along to the record. So a lot of it is, yeah, I don't know, getting that down and playing along to the records and do that kind of stuff.
That's cool. Well, and there are so many great, slap players. I know a lot of times Dirty Loops, you guys obviously have incorporated some funk into your sound, and you look back at some of these old players like Bootsy. Is Bootsy another player that maybe that you've spent some time listening to?
Yeah, I had a few of songs with Bootsy that I listened to a lot. Like he's obviously like a super legend, and yeah, I played. Aron and I practice a lot of those James Brown grooves together as well, so that's like a Bootsy reference as well. But yeah, so absolutely.
Yeah, the guy so he's amazing, absolutely amazing. So what stood out to me when I saw you live with my son is that musically live you guys you're just dialed in, but you're also having fun. Like you guys don't take yourselves too seriously, which I appreciate in a band. So clearly there's some friendship there, and I think that helps musically just to be cohesive. Maybe tell us a little bit about how the three of you guys met, got together, started making music.
We studied together, so I went to several schools with those guys, and we known each other for a very long time as well. So when we started their loops, it became kind of a natural thing to do. We all wanted to like, play that kind of music, and yeah, then there was like the social thing. There was a friendship there, and kind of always have been. So yeah, it was a very natural thing to do, and yeah, it's just like nice to be around people you known for a very long time.
Yeah. I know sometimes the road can maybe test the friendship a little bit. When you're living on a bus or whatever, you're in such close proximity to each other for a long time. Man, it's like, it's one thing to be friends when you hang out sometimes, you play music together, but when you're living together while on the road, how was that? Was it pretty chill? Was it easy to do where you're like, man, I can't wait to get home? Like, what was the road experience like for you guys?
It was pretty. I really enjoyed it. I think we always been like pretty good at leaving space to each other. So when someone wants to be alone, like other people don't bother that person, and there hasn't been, like huge fights when we toured. Of course, there's been like disagreements and stuff over the years, but there's never been, like that we really screamed at each other when we were out and or like ever really. So yeah, it's been pretty chill, I think. I had a good experience on the tour and I enjoyed it. So
That's awesome. Yeah, because you hear horror stories. I'm sure you have too. I maybe even seen some in other bands that you guys have played with. But a lot of times bands are just very dysfunctional. I've interviewed bands where that for periods of time they didn't even talk to each other off stage, and just because things were just there's so much tension. But it's good that you guys have, because it seems like you guys started as friends and then got together. So the basis of your music really is friendship, and that's got to be a big help.
like I mean like we also have disagreements about stuff, of course. I think
Sure.
that's kind of healthy in a band
Yeah.
to have disagreements, but yeah, it's haven't gone to that place, like where we don't talk to each other off stage or anything like that. But
Yeah.
and also like during the tours and stuff like that, you kind of like stick together, because if it's gonna be like tension in the bus all the time, like nobody's gonna. It's just gonna be horrible for everybody. So
Yeah. One thing I've learned from other bands or artists is that having other creative outlets outside of your core band can be really healthy and can give you maybe the ability to express part of your musical palette that maybe you don't get to in your core band. You were just talking about before we recorded how you were in Japan right after you guys got off the tour here. Are you, and I know you were doing lots of session work from a very early age, really when you were a teenager. Have you found that being able to be creative and be an instrumentalist outside of the Dirty Loops has helped you be a better part of your core band?
yeah, definitely. I think that goes for all of us, because yeah, you want to try stuff that differs from their loops outside of this, and yeah, I think that's important for all of us. Like Jonah doing film scoring now, and Aron's doing classical music that he writes for orchestras, and I've done a lot of the improv stuff. So, and I think eventually all of that stuff has helped the band, and it's I don't know, like I think all of us want to keep it that way, to do the Dirty Loops things and then do different projects outside of it as well. So yeah, it's been really good.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I think that's healthy. So you guys have such a distinct sound, but a varied sound. Like you guys bring so many different things musically, stylistically to the table. And you've got so many different styles and things that you're drawing from. I mean, between you and Aron and Jonah. And one of the things I appreciate about the Dirty Loops is you guys kind of defy labels. Like you don't fit in a box. You don't fit in a category. And I love that because you've got all these different things. Like when you look at the three of you guys, what would you say each of you kind of brings to the table stylistically, musically? Like for you, obviously, your bass skills are incredible. You bring a lot of jazz. I mean, when you guys are locking in on more of a jazz style, it's so fun to listen to, and you have those structures, that note palette locked down. But what are some of the other elements, musical elements, that you guys bring to the mix that helps to make the Dirty Loop sound?
I think for Jonah, he has kind of his parents were choir leaders, so he has like that kind of vocabulary mixed with jazz stuff. So he kind of brings that. And Aron is kind of like I would say now the main producer who usually starts writing songs and also like kind of has the final say about the production and stuff like that. So Aron is kind of the person that looks that's responsible for the full mixes and the entire stuff. And I don't know. I kind of work with Aron like in the arranging parts, and it's kind of that he is the boss and I'm the person under him in a little bit of a way, like when working together, because that's the way that it works best for us, I guess. Because I kind of I think I excel mostly when people kind of have a vision and I have kind of uh, some room to play with in that field, and that I could work around that and do my thing over that. But I don't really like when I have to start things by myself. I like to come in and work on something that someone else started, and do it like that. So that's kind of, I don't know. It's a little vague always when talking about this, but this is like as close as I could get to it, I guess.
Well, actually, I can really appreciate that. It's like you like tell me where the lines are, and I'm going to fill it with your own abilities and stuff like that. And truthfully, I think that takes some humility on your part for you even to say, hey, he's kind of like the producer guy, and I'm just like my boss, so to speak, and I'm able to excel in that structure that he has helped to create. A lot of musicians, because of ego, wouldn't even be able to articulate that, to be able to say those words. So I think that, to your credit, I think that's pretty cool, and it works well for the band.
Yeah, it does.
Clearly.
And it's really like him and me works well together in that way. It's the same, like I wouldn't say like that I'm a good lyricist at all, but with lyrics for Dirty Loops, it's usually that Aron sings a demo in like gibberish English, and then I have to like write lyrics that has the same vowels as he does in the demo. Uh, like that is so that my lyrics will sound similar to his gibberish take, because like, yeah, I want to have those vowels in the chorus. So it's like, and that's a similar way where it works musically, that it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, I want kind of this, so could you try to fix it, and then you come up with an idea and then you work on it together. But it's, I don't know, like I really enjoyed that process. I think it's a lot of fun to work in that way, and I know like it works good for both of us. And yeah, I don't have an ego in that way, because yeah, working like this is faster and more fun for us.
Yeah. Well, and it's clear that you guys you've found your niche, you've found your roles, you've found a way to make it work well. You've got three different people with some similarities in your backgrounds, but you're also very different, and you bring different influences different abilities, and so to be able to make that work the way you guys have is actually pretty cool. I mean, a lot of bands don't reach that point, but you guys have settled into a good pattern, and has that gotten easier over time in the writing, the arranging, and recording process? Has that gotten easier, or is it still kind of a work in progress?
I think it's always a work in progress, but at the same time, yeah, it's gotten a lot easier. I don't know. It's the process that you kind of trust yourself more now, maybe than you did 10 years ago. Because, yeah, right now I think we kind of do music for ourselves in a way, like if we like it, then we put it out, and, that if it's fun for us, then it's a good product for us. And, like people always could like it or dislike it. And so I think we cared more about like what other people would think about us 10 years ago compared to now. But I think that's like something that maybe comes with doing it for a while, and like with getting older as well, and that you like, yeah, I don't really care that much anymore what other people think about it. So
Well, yeah, and there's freedom in that, and
yeah,
I'm sure that you have seen that, and so it's so cool because you guys gave me permission to add. We're going to play Runaway here in a few minutes, but before we do that, I want to talk about your last full album, Turbo, with Cory. How did you get? Because Cory Wong, great guitar player, great songwriter, an American guy. How did you guys cross paths, and how did you guys come about writing Turbo together?
he wrote us and asked us if we wanted to do an album, and we were like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And the process of making that album was much faster than it was usually for us, and it was like a very cool thing that it was the workflow, that it was a much higher pace. I think it was really good for us that we did something like that. Uh, he Cory's like an incredibly hard worker, so whenever you send something over, like, okay, I'm gonna record this, and it's like done. It's happened like within a day or two. Like he was not messing around and like waited for how things would feel and stuff like that. And it was just for me, I really enjoyed it because it was like someone kicking your ass a little bit, because we're usually like really slow when we record stuff. And I don't know, we never met him like when we did the videos either, and like we finally met him this fall when he was gonna do a Stockholm show, and it was super nice to meet him in person. It was a different thing, and he's like a super nice dude, and the rest of his bands are really nice people as well. So I had a really great time like when we met him for the first time, and yeah, I don't know, it was really fun making an album, and I hope it will do more stuff at some point, and hopefully to work together at some point as well.
It sounds like that recording was done remotely.
Yeah, it was. Everything was done remotely. It was like, here's your ideas, here are our ideas, and like, okay, you finish that, we'll finish that, and it was structured. And yeah, but I mean, like, he gets a lot of stuff done, and it's actually amazing how much stuff he does at the same time, like while touring. And yeah, it's definitely something to I don't know, I look up to that. Like, it's super cool.
Well, it's super cool. Yeah, he does seem like a really nice guy, and he meant that album. I mean, Turbo is so great. I mean, it's fun to be able to hear you guys play some of those songs live, which was super cool. When you're off tour, I mean, obviously are you still doing studio work? Because I think what I read is that you started like when you were 16 or something like that. So how do you keep your chops up when you're off
I don't
tour,
know, like, I
out
didn't
of the
really
studio?
like when I was 16, the studio work I did was usually, like in school with my band. So it was not, I was not a hired. I did like maybe one or two sessions at that age. And then it could be like the next one was when I was 18. And then when I was like turning 22, 23, that's like when that happened more frequently. But it's not comparable to, like in the 80s or something, when someone did 3 sessions a day. Like I recorded some albums for people. But yeah, I still do some recordings every now and then. But I don't know, like, I'm pretty slow when recording. I like to take my time, and that's why I feel like usually there's not like really that big of a budget for recording anymore, and the hours like that gets into recording something for me, like when they want to have like a dirty loops sounding bass line, it's I don't know, like usually it's got to be a product that I really care about in order for me to like that I want to do it now. So I've done it less actually, but yeah, I do enjoy it sometimes as well. But on the other hand, like I did some of the sessions work where it was like, you know, live recordings in a studio, and when that happens, that's easier because it's like takes much less time. And
Yeah.
so whenever those kind of sessions happen, I kind of prefer that more. But yeah, recording the Derlips way is usually that it takes like 1 or 2 days to record bass per track, which is always like kind of a drag.
Well, yeah. Well, you're not playing, you know, single notes, just following the kick drum. I mean, when people want Henrik, they probably want some of the fury that you play, that you unleash on the neck of that thing. So, does it take you a while? Like, okay, you're not just going to randomly jam. You're going to think your parts through. Is that what takes you a while to kind of develop what you want to do here?
Yeah, it's like writing the fills and stuff like that. So it's definitely when I do it that way, it's arranging the part that takes time. And you know, then it's usually also like that it's technically kind of difficult and you need to like do a bunch of takes in order to get it right. But yeah, I don't know. It's still fun, but it's, you know, not something I would want to do all the time. Uh, but it's just like when I do it, I want to do it, you know, 100%. So I don't want to half-ass it, and that's why I don't do it that much.
Yeah. Well, and then you've got to have a drummer that can mirror that part, that you guys can, you know, really hone in what you're doing. Obviously, you have that in Aron. Aron is an incredible drummer. Do you guys ever push each other? And that we're going to listen to Runaway here. Like, there are some parts in there where you guys are locked in. It seems like you're kind of pushing each other. Like, man, okay, this is us really going for it. And you're like, man.
But Runaway had like, it was a little bit of a weird thing with that. It had the, like, I don't know if you call it verses, like the parts where there's a lot of noise, like that are not, where there's no vocals. But those were basically, Aron asked me like, okay, could you record 8 bars of like doing a lot of stuff, a lot of different sounds, and these are kind of like the chord changes for it. So like go 8 bars with this sound, go 8 bars of slap, go 8 bars of this, and then I did that 2 times, and then he kind of cut it together and edited it, and then I had to like try to figure out how to play that live, that was a challenge. That was really a challenge, but those kind of challenges are really fun because it involves the playing, and also it's like very outside of the box thinking when doing that. So
Well, I could see that. It reminds me of, I don't know if you're a Rush fan or not, but I remember Geddy Lee talking about how playing a Rush song is like, what do you say, running a marathon while doing mathematics in your head. Because during those breaks, I guess the verse section of Runaway, your sound is changing very quickly. There's a lot of pedal work that so you can't, I mean, obviously you have the muscle memory because you've practiced it, but it's like, okay, I need to hit this pedal here. I need to go up on,
actually, I don't, because that part I cheated with, because since we played to a click track, I have a MIDI cable that changes all the sounds for me automatically, so I don't have to press anything except for the whammy pedal, the expression pedal. That's the only one I had to get back to press. But other than that, like I don't know, that would have been too much practice in order to nail the footwork, because it would be a lot of tap dancing on that one.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you would have been sweating. So that part you're able to program all those different sound changes, so you don't have to go through all the gymnastics of it live, because you pull it off live. I mean, this song, I recorded it on my phone. It is insane live. Like, you guys nailed it.
But it's also like some of the samples that were just like noise that were glitched up, those are played by the second keyboard player that he sampled, right. That he had some bass samples that he plays. So it's kind of like, you know, a puzzle. It's like, yeah, this part I will not be able to jump from the bass part up to here. So then it goes over for him to press one note that's like a sample, and then it goes back to me again. So it was, I don't know, like we kind of like talked it over, like you will do this, I will do that, and first rehearsal it kind of worked because
Wow.
that one I practiced kind of like more than a regular Dirty Loop song. I started practicing it early for the tour because I knew it was gonna be a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we had
I
one of
can
the shows
understand.
where the cable was plugged out and that it didn't change the sound, and it was like that was not a good version of the song.
But you know what, though? That's part of the beauty of being on the road. I've seen, I've seen tons of concerts, probably like you have, and yeah, that's the human element of it, and that's what makes a live performance so wonderful. So, the band's latest single, I would say, is one of the best songs I've heard this year. It is so great. I can never get tired of listening to it. So the song Runaway is about a person in a relationship who doesn't want to be in that relationship anymore. And so, do I get this right that you wrote the lyrics for that?
Yeah, that
Nice. And is this kind of metaphorical, or is this personal experience? Like, because I think we've all been in those
it's a
relationships
little
where
bit
you're
of
like,
both. Like it's, but I mean, I think everybody's been in that relationship. It doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic relationship either. It's just like any sort of relationship, like when you're around a person that you really can't stand and you want to get out of there. So that was like that was the inspiration behind the song, I guess.
yeah, been there, done that. So tell us about the writing. From what I understand, Aron actually is the one who wrote the music for it. Is that right?
Yeah, Aron and I wrote the chorus. Like Aron came up with the chorus, but we wrote the melody. It's like a really old song. Like we wrote it on a hotel room in 2015, and like tried to come up with a verse for it like forever, and it like never worked. And then we were like, okay, we're gonna do it like this. But it was like a chorus that we always really liked. So it's
Yeah.
the song was written like kind of a long time ago. So it's been in a drawer, but like it's one of those songs where we're like, yeah, we really have to do something from with this one.
Well, with the chorus that big in terms of its melodic sense, that would be hard to write a verse for. So I could see where that would be a challenge. So after a while, it sounds like you guys just said, screw it. We're not writing a verse. We're just going to go for a musical break.
Yeah,
But it's pretty cool because it doesn't follow, the normal songwriting conventions. And again, you guys take the freedom. It's your music. And I think it turned out, and I think that those musical breaks pair perfectly with that sweet. I mean, it's a very sweet melody, and I think that's actually super cool. Super. Are you guys really? Are you happy with the way it turned out now that it's been out for a
yeah.
while?
I'm really happy with how it turned out. Like I thought it was that we did something new that we never tried before, and uh, I like doing that. I don't want to. I think also like most of our songs that I haven't been really happy is the ones where we repeated ourselves too much, and I like when we try to push into new directions. I thought it was the same thing when we released "Work Shit Out." It was kind of the first release since Loopified, and it was this song that had two long solos in it, and that was also kind of different from stuff we'd done before. And yeah, whenever we can keep doing those things, it's fun.
If you haven't heard Runaway, the latest single by the Dirty Loops, you can catch it now wherever you stream. You can watch the video on YouTube. We're going to do a little bit of a breakdown of that song. I love the fact, as I just mentioned, that it's atypical. It doesn't follow that, typical intro, verse, chorus, chorus. I love the fact that you guys are having some fun with it. And, really when it begins, it kind of has that like an 80s arena rock feel to it with those hits. The melody is very, very, very catchy. So you and Aron wrote that. Awesome job. It almost sounds like almost from the boy band. Like it's that sweet pop sound that is so incredibly melodic. But the song really gives you, as a player, some room to shine. And I just find your playing to be very, very innovative in many ways, I think you're kind of redefining the role of a bass player to a great extent. So when you guys, how long did it take you guys to work out those musical breaks that you're doing and recording of that? Was that a long process? Like, what was that like?
It was kind of like I sent him a bunch of stuff first, and then he edited stuff and was like, "Yeah, this is kind of missing. Could you do like some more parts where you do this?" And we event like the first draft was that we had like a 2 or 3 minute long bass solo for the second verse in it, but that didn't like we didn't like it, so instead we did like the entire thing once again.
Okay.
So that we had like two of those verses, and then I recorded a new verse like that. So it was like a little bit of trial and error with it, but I went like a few times with Aron and sent him more stuff. And then after a while, we're like, yeah, okay, we got it now. And then after that, we sent it to Jonah, who added like some of the keys for it as well. But yeah, it
Very
was
cool.
really a lot of only drum and bass in the verses or whatever. Aron calls it instrumental parts or post chorus. I don't know, like it's hard to define what the
Right.
function of that part is in the song.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we
And
don't
you're
really agree on what it is either. Like I think it's a verse and he thinks it's something else.
right. No, well, I don't know if you watched any of the reaction videos online. There are a ton of them that are super cool. And people are like, well, okay, so I guess in the verse part, because like, what do you call it? Yeah. 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 Now, your sounds in this, I mean, you've got the slap bass sound going. You're doing some lead guitar parts, some rhythm guitar parts, some semi synth sounds. Like, it is insane the number of different tones and approaches to what you're playing in one song, which I think is super cool. How long did it take you to dial in what you're going to be doing here and really kind of dissecting those little sections and breaking them down? How long did it take you to kind of work all of that out?
Like when I learned the song after recording it.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I'm sorry. Like before you recorded, like, okay, I'm gonna do a slap part here, and I'm gonna do because you're doing some hammering on the neck, like to break all that. How long did it take you to really settle all that?
that did not take that long. It's just that I there I just did like I recorded 8 bars of just making noise and doing I figured out like some new ways of playing because I did a lot of tapping stuff that I haven't really experimented that much with before. So I learned more. I learned to play more tapping for this song because I thought it was like it's also because it has the 80s vibe and the Eddie Van Halen thing. So I wanted to. I don't know. It didn't end up like sounding like Eddie Van Halen at all, but like that. It's just like I wanted to learn how to do some tapping stuff, and it's actually helped. I incorporated that in other parts after that because it was like, yeah, it's a new tool that I could use, but like not in a distortion lead way, but in parts where it's like, oh yeah, I want to overdub this thing that jumps too high, and yeah, okay, now I have a new way of doing that. So it's usually whenever I learn something like this, then it's like a part of the arsenal. Whenever you know you need to do something like that, then you kind of got it afterwards. So that's also why I really enjoy doing these things because it's yeah, it's fun. It's kind of like a puzzle. It's like building Lego a little bit learning this.
Yeah, yeah. So right about this part here, you're jamming so fast. It's clear to see what's going on with your left hand on the fretboard. But when you're slapping like that and playing that fast, just really jamming, are you not only slapping? Are you doing anything else with your right fingers? Are you picking to get kind of that rolling sound that you get?
Uh, Most of the stuff is just like that I play, that I hit an open string and then hammer on 2 strings with the left hand. Sometimes it's like that I strike twice with the thumb, like down and up, and pluck 1, 2, or 3 times. So that's like the main thing, and then it's just like combinations of that. But it's really that it's like kind of efficient. So it's not, really stressful for the hands ever. So it's, you have to do like maybe one or two hits fast,
Okay.
and then you could rest a little bit, and the other hand comes in and do one or two hits fast, and then you kind of like get that into motion and you speed it up, and yeah, that's how I learned it.
That's so cool. I mean, it just sounds thunderous. I mean, it is like an unleashing of bass fury. It's so cool. So when you talked about tapping like Eddie Van Halen, is it hard for you to get the action that you need? Because bass strings are a little thicker. Are you using a lighter gauge on those lower strings where you're hammering that gives you the action that you need?
No, I actually have a medium and a heavier B string, so I never played the light gauge. It's just not for me. Like, there's a lot of players who has that and has a really great sound with it, but I like when it's more tension in the string. But the action is pretty low still. It's not ridiculously low, but it's definitely low. So it's always felt pretty comfortable to do the tapping things. If you would have really high, um, if the strings would be high, then yeah, it would be a lot more difficult to do it.
So in this part, you're moving into like your sound changes so quickly. Between bass, electric guitar, rhythm guitar, and you're saying all that is done MIDI, so you don't have to worry about that. So you're saying the only pedal you're really using is kind of your what pedal is that you use to go
Active
up
X3,
into?
but it's a combination. It's an Active X3, and then it's also a Boss SI 200. So the Boss SI 200 does some of the synth tones in that one. The rest of it is only in the Active X3, and then it's an expression pedal. But the Active X3 turns on and off the physical pedals as well. So because
Oh,
it goes into a Morningstar switcher that turns on and off the pedals, and so it's all like pre-programmed. Uh, so that's kind of how it works.
it's so cool. Well, it sounds so neat. I'm glad you found out a good way to do that, because I couldn't even imagine trying to pull that off live. Because studio is one thing, you can take your time and do whatever, but live, and it sounded so good live. So in this song, as I mentioned, Aron's drumming is spectacular. He's got some incredible fills and rolls that you're like, what? I rewind certain parts so many times. There's a part where the precision between you and Aron, when you're playing, just locked down an incredible roll. How long did it take you guys to get this part down?
Uh, I don't know, like with studios you could cheat a lot, and we do. Like, I edit it a lot in those takes, and it's just like. But some of the stuff has been there's like some of the passages that are still really hard live. There's two passages in that one that is really hard. But one of the slap
Yeah.
bass thing where Aaron goes into the triplet thing, he added like a bunch of harmonics in that lick on the record, so I had to like redo it and do it differently because I couldn't play what was on the record at all there. But it's like the chop that part there. It sounds kind of like I wanted to keep it, but because I think like the editing of it sounded nice, but it's yeah, I don't think it's possible to play what's on the record in that part. So it's basically that I play the part that I actually recorded to him there that he didn't chop up. So I play the one
Yeah.
that it was supposed to be like, what it was
Yeah, yeah,
supposed to
yeah.
be like instead. So yeah.
Well, it sounds so good live too. I mean, we were so close to the front, and yeah, just watching that unleash was so fun.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like those parts that are not exactly, they're like for me they're close enough. Like, it's just like it's a technical thing. Like it's the same note values, and it's just like, that it's just a normal tone instead of a harmonic that goes into every in the middle of the slap bass phrase.
Yeah.
So it basically, like, it sounds kind of very similar. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I think it sounded great live. I mean, it was so much fun to listen to, and I love the key change in that, and I love how when you guys go into the last chorus, how you kind of hang on the, I think, what is that, like the E minor, and don't resolve to that next chord. It kind of builds like this really cool tension that we as listeners, we're like, okay, settle onto it, move to that next chord, but you hold that to kind of build that up. Like, whose idea was that? Because that's super cool.
That was Aron's idea. That was also like, we thought about it. Aron and I really liked it. Jonah didn't like that chord change at all, and it was like one of those, like, you really want this? And I was like, yeah, like, yeah, I don't like it. Like, yeah, we're gonna keep it. Like, we just gonna want to have our say. So it's like fun with that part, because that was like a debate between the three of us, and yeah, I don't know. Like, Aron and I got our will with that one, but yeah, I don't know. Like. That's the stuff that happens sometimes, like, you think differently about things, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I really like it because it's I like that it goes to minor, and that it's the same root of the past chorus.
Right.
And I don't know, like, it somehow, like, it makes sense to me, and I hear it that way, and I think Aron did it as well. And then the next time it goes to the G instead. And yeah, I like the result because it's just like, it's wonky somehow.
It is. And then when it settles in, you're like, there it is. It like creates kind of a journey a little bit for the listener. Even that A, before you guys move into that, it's like, whoa, where did this chord come from? But it's so subtle that you're like, wait a minute, that was a key change. So it's pretty cool. It's actually the arrangement of that, I think, is super, super cool. So you guys really nailed it.
But the, like, really weird chord before it goes into the chorus, that was something that Jonah really liked, that Aron didn't really like the first time he heard it. And like,
Okay.
I think Aron, like, really liked that one when we heard the mix, because like then he heard it, how that was supposed to sound, and that was like a debate on like from the other way around, where Jonah was like, yeah, I did this like really sharp key change thing. I don't even know what that chord is actually, but yeah, it's it's like, that's like when the modulation kind of starts going there, and yeah, I don't know, like, I think I like both of them. I like the one that Jonah did there, and then I like that we kept the one in the chorus also.
For sure. Well, the response to the song has just seemed really positive. I mean, it's on the video. Goodness, it's like 750,000 views already. Are you guys happy with the reception of that song?
Yeah, I'm super happy. It's also like, I think it was a good response when we played it live as well. So it's just been a lot of fun playing it live, and yeah, I'm super happy with it. It's one of those songs I always wanted to finish. Like, since we wrote it, like, since it's been around for such a long time, it's also been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's super cool. So we're winding down our time here. What's next for you guys? Obviously, you're off tour. Are you guys doing any writing? Are you gonna take some time away from the band?
We finished the writing. We're gonna do another EP, like Phoenix, like a 5-song EP. So we're gonna shoot the next video like end of this month, and
Cool.
yeah, there will be some new releases. That's also like a really weird song we're gonna release. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, nice. I can't wait to hear it. All right. So, as I mentioned before we start recording, towards the end here, we're going to do some quick hit questions. I'm just going to throw some questions your way. Tell me the first thing that comes to mind. All right. What's an album that you never get tired of listening to?
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, I have. This is going to be a boring, but I have like this Well-Tempered Clavier, parts 1 and 2. They're like several hours, but like, that's one I like been coming back to a lot of times. I really like, especially the book 2.
Nice.
So yeah.
That's cool. I
It does
like
like a
that.
4 album CD or something, or a 4 CD album, but so it's kind of like a cheat answer. But yeah, I like that one. I come back to it.
All right, I'll take that. I'll take that. So, if you could take the stage with any band, past or present, to play bass on one song, what song would it be and what band?
This one is probably I would wanna like in the like 96 Red Hot Chili Peppers version, like to play Airplane, because that was kind of like the song that got me into bass playing, and if I could do that, that would be cool. So yeah, I guess like that's the band that I would join at that part at that time.
Nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What do you think Dirty Loops fans would be most surprised to find in your listening rotation?
Uh Isn't we're like kind of like a mix of everything, but it's probably like some of the we all kind of like listen to a lot of I don't know, maybe it's Aaron's like Rammstein addiction. That's like
Oh,
maybe a
okay.
little weird. Uh, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I like that. So, if the Dirty Loops could tour the world with any band, who would you guys want to tour with?
It would probably be like that it would be in some band together with like really this is going to be a boring answer, but this is going to be like the truthful answer is like that it was like friends of all us that we knew really well, and like that I could pick I don't know, like it would be cool with Nowhere, for instance, like we met them at some point, or like with Cory or whatever, but it's like people you met and that seem super nice, because it's usually with tours. I think that's 90% of it is if you get along with the people you're there with. Like even if you like, I really like both Nowhere and Corey's music, but even if there was a band where I didn't like the music and they were really nice people, I would probably pick that, because
Yeah.
yeah, you're gonna hang out with them all the time, and if there's someone who's an asshole, like that would just be a no-go thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear you. Okay, last question. What is your favorite movie?
Uh This is also like when you're in an interview, like, and get asked like what your favorite movie is. Like you try to come up with something fancy, like, and you're never like actually gonna tell like your favorite movie. But uh, I get a thing like which one is the one I watched the most. I don't know. Pulp Fiction is a pretty good movie. I
Oh,
liked that
okay,
when I
yeah.
was a kid. That was also like one of the first, like adult movies that I got to watch like at a pretty early age. So that is like
Yeah.
a movie that's close to my heart, I guess.
Right on. I that's a great choice. Well, Henrik, I am so grateful for you for hanging out with me today. What I loved about seeing you guys is knowing that I saw other dads in the audience. I'm like, okay, there's somebody, So you guys, your fan base is very wide, and I remember at one point in the show, you said either you or Jonah asked, okay, everybody who's here that's a musician, raise your hand, and 90% of the place raised their hands. So you've got a very cool fan base.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like you gotta enjoy that. That there's a bunch of musicians.
Thank you again for joining me, and for everybody listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, give a kind rating, a review, follow or subscribe, throw some stars my way. Make sure you join us next time as we walk the stretch of road with another artist. And until then, be good humans and keep your bags packed, and join us on our next journey to the stage. And that is a wrap.